this pattern, you'll need 2 skeins of fingering weight yarn, 1 tonal or solid, and 1 variegated. I'm using these 2 colors from Explorer Knits. They're really beautiful. This is Fireheart, and this is You Do Not Yield on her Denali sock base, which is 80% superwash merino and 20% nylon. For this pattern, you'll need a 5.5 millimeter Tunisian crochet hook, a tapestry needle for weaving in ends, and stitch markers to help track increases and decreases. I've made a chain of 61, and I'm going to pick up a loop in each back bump, collecting loops as I go. I've also started in the variegated, but you can choose to start in the tonal as well. So I'm going to go ahead and start picking up a loop in the back bumps, just like that. And I'm going to do this till I get all the way back down, and then I'm going to do a standard return pass. Then I'm going to come and show you the next step. So I've gone ahead and done my return pass and finished, and now what we're going to do is we're going to start the basics for the pattern. What that means is I'm going to be going over how we're going to do our increases and decreases. This shawl is made on bias, so we're going to always increase on the right side and decrease on the left. So for this first one, you can see our first stitch. I'm going to go ahead and in there do a knit stitch, and then I'm going to do a purl stitch. And so to do the purl, I'm bringing the yarn to the front, bringing it back, going through that same stitch, yarning over and pulling through, just like that. Now for this row, because we're just going to be making the border, I'm going to be doing just a purl stitch all the way across. So with that purl stitch, let me show you again. I'm going to bring the yarn to the front of the hook, keep my finger on it so it doesn't go anywhere. Go through, then release, and then the yarn will bounce, the loose yarn will bounce behind and come through. Bring the yarn to the front, go through the next stitch, let the yarn go to the back, and then yarn over, pull up a loop. Again, yarn to the front, pull through just like that, yarn to the front, go through, let the yarn go to the back, and then pull up a loop. So I'm going to keep working on this, and then I'll come back and show you the next step. So I've come to where I have 3 stitches left. And remember, we did an increase on the other side, so this side we're going to do a decrease. So we're going to bring the yarn to the front for a purl stitch, and then we're going to go through both loops, bring the yarn back, and then bring that together. And that's a purl stitch 2 together. Then we're going to go ahead and do our last Tunisian stitch. And we're going to go through, we're going to go through both loops. Don't go through one like I just did. Yarn over, pull up a loop, and then we're going to do our return pass. I'm going to do the return pass, and I'll come back and show you the next row. I'm just finishing up row 2, and now I'm going to start what's going to be for this block of the pattern. So again, we're on the right side, so we're going to do our knit stitch, and then do a purl into that same stitch for our increase, just like that. And now I'm going to go ahead and just do knit stitches straight across. So just like that, we're going to knit stitch all the way across, and we'll do this until we get to the last 3 stitches. When we get to the last 3 stitches, we're going to do Tunisian purl stitch 2 together again for the 2, and then the last Tunisian stitch for the last. So I'm going to keep working on this knit stitch, and then we're just going to do several more rows of this, and I'll come back and show you the next part. So we've reached a section in the shawl where we're going to now change the stitch that we're using. So I finished my areas of the Tunisian knit stitch, then I did a row of Tunisian purl stitches, and now before I do my return pass, I'm going to go ahead and switch to color 2. So here's color 2 right here. I'm going to go ahead, add that to the return pass, and then once I get done with the return pass, I'll meet you back and show you how we're going to do the next stitch. So I'm back here, and I'm going to go ahead and do my increase as normal. There's my knit stitch and my purl stitch, just like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start the next stitch pattern. This is going to be the smock stitch. So to do the smock stitch, we're going to do a Tunisian simple stitch 2 together, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then we're going to yarn under. So kind of similar to what we did with the pro stitch, but you're going to keep your finger on there, and this time you're not going to let go. So then we'll do our Tunisian simple stitch 2 together, and then we're going to yarn under again, 2 together. Now if you let go, what's going to happen is you're going to end up with the pro stitch 2 together, so we don't want that. So make sure you hold on to that yarn under, and this stitch will always be a Tunisian simple stitch 2 together and then a yarn under. So that's the order that we're doing this stitch in, just like that. So to show it to you again one more time slowly, simple stitch 2 together, keeping my finger on the previous stitch's yarn under, and then yarn undering again, keeping my finger there, just like that, yarn under. And you can see how that's pulling that together in that really pretty fashion. I am going to keep working on this, then I will get back and show you the next step. So I'm finishing up my last Tunisian simple stitch 2 together. I have my yarn under and I have 4 stitches left. So because we have an extra stitch here, I'm just going to simple stitch it just like that, and it's going to act by itself. I'm not going to worry about doing a yarn under that stitch. Then I'm going to bring my yarn to the front and do my purl stitch 2 together, just like that. And then I'm going to go here and I'm going to do my last Tunisian stitch, pull up a loop. I'm going to drop color 2 and go back and pick up color 1, just like that. You may just have to tug that tight a little bit just to get there. And now we're going to do our return pass in color 1, and then I will show you the next row. Okay, so now we're back to row 2 of this repeat, and we're going to do our same increase, purl stitch increase, just like that, pull up a loop. And now the smock stitch asks that you alternate stitches in terms of your rows, but because we've added an increase, we don't have to worry about that. Normally you would do a simple and then go ahead and do your Tunisian simple stitch 2 together. So we're going to go straight into our Tunisian simple stitch 2 together, pull up a loop, yarn under, and then we're going to go to the next one and yarn under. And you can see here and here where I'm pulling up my loops just like that, and you can see how it's creating a really, really interesting little pattern here. And the smock stitch sections are going to be a little bit more open and lacier than the knit stitch, but you can kind of see how that's coming together. So I'm going to get a little bit more yarn. Now don't forget your yarn unders, and then I'm going to keep going, Tunisian simple stitch 2 together, yarn under, and if you can't see it, just loosen up your yarn a little bit, 2 together, yarn under, 2 together, yarn under. It actually really, really helps that I have a high contrast yarn here because it makes it easy to see the stitches. Yarn under. Okay, so I'm going to keep going, and then I'll meet you at the end. Okay, so we're coming to the end, and you can see that I have 4 stitches left. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm going, and that includes my last Tunisian stitch. I'm going to make sure I don't forget my yarn under that goes with this stitch. Then I'm going to go ahead and simple again, just like that. I don't have to do a yarn under after that stitch, but I will be doing my Tunisian purl stitch 2 together, and then we'll go to our last Tunisian stitch. Let's see if I can just get that there. And then we're going to drop color 1 and go back to color 2, carrying color changes along the left side as we go. And that's basically it for the smock stitch section. I'm going to keep working on this. This section is going to be a little bit wider than the knit stitch section, so I'll work on that for a while, and then I'll come back after I've worked a little bit more on the shawl, alternating smock stitch and Tunisian knit stitch sections with the purl stitch in between. So I've reached the halfway point on my shawl, and what we're going to do from here is actually flip things around, where we're going to be doing decreases on this end and increases on the other end, but follow the same general pattern and actually also have the same number of stitches. So on this side, instead of doing my increase like I would here, I'm going to go ahead and do purl stitch two together, decrease, just like that. Then once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a Tunisian simple stitch, and then I'm going to do my two together. Yarn under, two together, yarn under. And I'm going to keep doing this till I get to the end, and then I'll show you how we do the increase there. So we're here at the end where we have 4 stitches. I've just finished my yarn over. I'm going to go ahead and do my last smock stitch. So simple stitch 2 together, yarn over, and then in this last stitch I'm going to do a knit and then a purl, just like that. And then we'll do our last Tunisian stitch. And that's how we're going to do the increases on this end. Eventually it'll end up looking more like over here on this side. So this shawl is basically going to be a mirror image of itself. So I'm going to switch colors, and then I'm going to keep working until I have the same number of rows that I had here for the initial side. Then when I get to the knit stitch part, this is actually now going to be worked in color 2, so that's our brown color. And this shawl will again be a mirror image in a sense, where color 2 is going to be the main color or the primary color along this wing. So I'm going to keep working on this, and then I will meet you back to show you next steps. So we're here at the end of the pattern, and we're going to do our slip stitch bind off, and I wanted to show you how we're going to do that. We ended up with our last row of purl stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the next stitch, just like that, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then pull through the live loop on your hook, just like that. I'm going to go back in, yarn over, pull through one, pull through the second one. As you get better with this, you'll see you'll be able to go through and pull both loops at the same time, just like that. So I'm going to keep working on this, and then I'll come back and show you what this final product is after blocking. So here's the final shawl pattern, and you can see how we have our sections of Tunisian knit stitch and Tunisian smock stitch here. I also created a second one that is actually what the pattern is, and I'll show you that right now. Get this here and move this one out of the way. And this one has the colors actually alternating every other color, whereas the original had wings of each color. And once I made the shawl, I liked the other version. I like this version a little bit better. So we have this shawlette, and you can see that it is really nice and perfect. It's going to be great for the fall, and it's a great way to use 2 skeins of yarn to create a really beautiful pattern. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up and do subscribe. It helps to grow my channel. Thank you, and happy crocheting.